It was 08:30 a.m. on April 18, 1943. The air inside the low-slung, cramped intelligence hut on Guadalcanal was thick with the humid, stale odor of stale coffee and relentless tension. Ensign George Harris, a young U.S. Navy cryptographer, stared at the decoded message slip. He was not on the front lines, yet he held the fate of the Pacific War in his hands. The team, part of the top-secret Operation Magic, had achieved the impossible, cracking the high-level Japanese naval code JN-25. But this message was different. It was short, specific, and utterly chilling. The detailed itinerary, time, and location for the flight of Admiral Yamamoto, the strategic mastermind behind Pearl Harbor, as he planned a frontline inspection tour. To use this information was to risk revealing the fact that the entire Japanese code system had been compromised, a secret far more valuable than any single target. To ignore it was to concede the continuation of a brutal war directed by a genius. The weight of the world pressed down as Harris passed the slip to his commander, Admiral Nimitz's decision resting on a knife's edge. This was not a clash of battleships. This was the ultimate ghost operation, a classified mission where the only weapon used was information, a single code that could rewrite history or destroy the intelligence war forever. The setting for this ultimate act of classified warfare was the South Pacific in early 1943. Following the grinding, decisive American victory at Guadalcanal, the strategic initiative in the Pacific had irrevocably begun to shift. However, the Japanese Imperial Navy remained a formidable, terrifying entity, capable of delivering devastating strikes across vast ocean territories. At the heart of this power was a single man, Admiral Yamamoto. He was not merely a fleet commander, he was the primary architect of the Pearl Harbor attack and the grand strategist behind every major Japanese naval movement. His influence was immeasurable, his planning genius viewed by both sides as the ultimate existential threat. For the Americans, removing Yamamoto was akin to decapitating the Imperial Navy's intellectual core. The battle was no longer defined by aircraft carriers and amphibious assaults, but by the relentless, silent war of codes, where every decrypted word was worth 1,000 battleships. The physical environment was one of vast, interconnected islands and endless ocean, making effective command and control utterly reliant on secure radio communication. This dependency became Yamamoto's fatal flaw. The forces involved in the immediate aftermath of the intelligence intercept were tiny. A handful of U.S. Navy P-38 Lightning fighters and the two G-4M Betty bombers carrying Yamamoto and his staff. Yet, the strategic forces arrayed against him included the entire U.S. Pacific Fleet Command, whose movements and resources were secretly being guided by intelligence gathered thousands of miles away. The stakes were absolute. If the Japanese discovered their codes were compromised, the advantage gained by the Americans over the preceding year would be instantly erased, potentially prolonging the war by years and costing countless lives. Conversely, the successful removal of Yamamoto would not only deliver a crushing blow to morale, but would minate the one man capable of brilliant strategic recovery for the Empire. The true nature of this impending collision lay in the unprecedented success of Operation Magic, the U.S. code-breaking effort targeting Japanese naval communications. While the German Enigma code-breaking at Bletchley Park is widely known, the efforts to crack the Japanese high-level JN-25 code were equally painstaking and achieved similar, world-altering results. By 1943, the U.S. Navy had achieved remarkable penetration into the Japanese naval communication network, allowing them to anticipate ship movements and battle plans. However, this level of access carried profound risks, creating a constant, paralyzing tension within the intelligence community. The need to exploit the information versus the existential threat of revealing the compromise. This internal conflict was acute within the intelligence bunkers. Admiral Chester W. Nimitz, Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Fleet, and his Chief Intelligence Officer, Joseph Rochefort, wrestled with this dilemma constantly. The strategy they developed was a masterpiece of operational deception, a ghost operation designed to look like routine patrol or aerial reconnaissance, thus protecting the secret of magic. Yamamoto himself contributed to the strategy's success through fatal arrogance. Japanese military culture strictly adhered to established communication protocols, failing to recognize the need for dynamic, continuous code changes, providing the Americans with a steady stream of exploitable data. The crucial intelligence, designated as Code Magic 31, confirmed Yamamoto's flight schedule: 2 bombers, 6 escort fighters, precise departure and arrival times, and the coordinates of his landing strip. The logistical details, down to the number of accompanying staff, were provided directly by the decrypted message. The only mission was pure assassination, a highly controversial, deeply classified operation that required the president's direct approval. This decision, to prioritize a single target over the long-term integrity of their intelligence source, highlighted the profound weight Yamamoto's genius carried. The counter-strategy was simple: assign the fastest, longest-range fighters available, the P-38 Lightnings, to intercept the flight path and execute the single, precise mission without any backup, ensuring that the operation itself would leave minimal trace of its true intelligence source. The battle was set, commanded not by the generals in the field, but by the code breakers in the shadows. The success of the intelligence coup rested on singular moments of stress and decision, defined by the individuals caught in the crosshairs of the Magic 31 intercept. The most immediate and harrowing perspective was that of the young cryptographer, Ensign Harris. Working in the humid, windowless hut, Harris represented the human cost of the intelligence war. He faced an ethical and strategic dilemma that no frontline soldier ever had to confront. He held the power to commit an act of strategic assassination that could save millions of lives. Yet the simple act of using that knowledge could expose the entire decryption effort, costing the Allies their single greatest advantage. His job was not to fight, but to translate raw data into immediate, lethal action. A burden that weighed heavily, as documented by his later transfer request, seeking removal from the silence of the code rooms to the noise of active duty. A second critical perspective belonged to Major John Mitchell, the P-38 pilot tasked with leading the 18 fighters on the mission to intercept Yamamoto. His challenge was one of pure, calculated execution. The mission required a deep penetration flight of over 1,000 miles, pushing the twin-engine Lightning fighters to the absolute limit of their range, using a schedule provided entirely by a code they could not verify themselves. Mitchell had to trust an abstract piece of paper, a piece of lost file data, over his own traditional pilot instincts. His flight path, meticulously planned to arrive at the precise minute of Yamamoto's expected approach, was a high-altitude stealth operation, a ghost operation flown at minimum altitude to avoid Japanese radar detection, demonstrating how a simple encrypted message dictated a complex, low-visibility aerial ballet. The technological aspect was dominated by the Japanese reliance on codebook ciphers. Unlike the mechanical Enigma machine used by the Germans, the Japanese JN-25 was a system reliant on massive codebooks that were periodically updated. The vulnerability of this system lay in the Japanese overconfidence. They believed the sheer size and complexity of the codebooks made decryption impossible, leading them to use the same ciphers for too long. The American magic effort exploited this flaw, using early computational methods and exhaustive human effort to build a massive index of probable meanings. The technological twist was simple. Yamamoto's precise itinerary was sent in the full, high-level cipher, confirming its importance. But his protocol demanded redundant, verifiable communication, ensuring the message was sent clearly, providing the American codebreakers the clear shot they needed. The ethical tension extended beyond the code room to the highest political level. The decision to execute a targeted assassination of a foreign military leader was unprecedented in American history, requiring direct consultation with President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The moral argument for the attack: that Yamamoto's strategic genius posed an unacceptable and perpetual threat to the war effort, potentially costing countless lives in future battles, had to override all ethical reservations regarding targeted killing. This decision, shrouded in absolute secrecy, became the core classified element of the mission, with orders given to destroy the initial message and all related operational papers after the mission's completion, turning the entire affair into a state-level lost file. A fifth angle focused on Admiral Yamamoto himself, who flew into the trap with a fatalistic certainty. His final strategy was to inspire frontline troops, a move dictated by a sense of duty and a deeply ingrained cultural confidence in the security of their communications. He dismissed warnings from his junior officers about increasing American aerial patrols, believing his personal travel itinerary was protected by the most secure Japanese ciphers. This confidence became a devastating blind spot, demonstrating that even a strategic genius can be brought down by a technological and cultural vulnerability. The perspective of the Japanese ground forces at Rabaul, Yamamoto's destination, offered a final tragic view. They were expecting their commander-in-chief a moment of high morale and ceremony. Instead, they suddenly lost contact with the flight and realized, only hours later, that the aircraft had vanished. Their initial reports focused on engine failure or hostile patrol, any explanation except a targeted, perfectly timed ambush. This strategic misdirection, the necessary lie maintained by the Americans, protected the magic secret for the rest of the war. The psychological toll on the Japanese forces was immediate and profound. The loss of Yamamoto was felt as an irreparable spiritual and strategic wound. And it was the single, precise code, the result of months of silent labor, that provided the coordinates for this most consequential aerial intercept. The turning point of the entire classified operation arrived at 09:34 a.m., high above the dense jungle canopy of Bougainville Island. This was the precise moment the single, fateful code, Magic 31, translated into tangible, lethal reality. Major John Mitchell and his flight of 16 P-38 Lightnings, 2 having aborted the mission due to fuel issues, arrived at the predicted intercept point with frightening accuracy. The odds of hitting a window of opportunity provided by a decrypted message over 1,000 miles from base were astronomically small. Yet, as their fuel gauges dipped dangerously low, the unmistakable sight of 2 G-4M Betty bombers, escorted by 6 Zero fighters, appeared exactly where the intelligence predicted. This was the moment of truth for the ghost operation. Was the code accurate enough to risk everything? Mitchell did not hesitate. The P-38s, designed for high-altitude escort, immediately dropped their auxiliary fuel tanks and executed a swift diving attack. The American strategy, informed by the perfect timing of the lost file intelligence, was to focus all initial fire on the 2 bombers to ensure the assassination of Yamamoto. The ensuing engagement was brief, brutal, and utterly decisive. The escorting Zeros, taken completely by surprise by the perfectly timed ambush, were instantly scattered. The American pilots, driven by the knowledge that this was a non-negotiable mission, attacked the lead bomber with a ferocious intensity. One of Yamamoto's G-4M Bettys was almost immediately ripped apart by the concentrated fire of 2 Lightnings, the fuselage trailing black smoke and quickly plunging into the jungle below. The second bomber, carrying Yamamoto's chief of staff, attempted a rapid, evasive descent toward the coast. However, its luck ran out as another Lightning, piloted by Captain Thomas Lanfear, pursued it relentlessly, forcing it to crash land in the thick jungle mangroves. Within minutes of the first sighting, the entire Japanese command flight was neutralized. The mission was a complete success, but its true cost was still unknown. The American pilots did not linger. Their mission was executed with military precision, and they immediately turned back, flying the final leg of their journey on fumes, successfully leaving behind an aerial encounter that appeared to the Japanese as a random, tragic stroke of bad luck. The crucial element needed to protect the magic secret. The large twist that followed was the agonizing wait for confirmation. Upon landing, Mitchell's team could only confirm the downing of 2 bombers and several escorts. The identity of the target remained a chilling mystery, a question that hung heavy over Nimitz's command. The complete lack of official Japanese confirmation for days created immense pressure, leading intelligence officers to fear that the entire mission had been for naught, or worse, that the failure to confirm the kill would lead the Japanese to immediately suspect a code compromise. However, the final, subtle evidence came not from a subsequent decrypted message, but from an intercepted Japanese field radio transmission. This transmission, heavily garbled and low priority, referred to the sudden, unplanned disappearance of a senior official and contained veiled references to a national tragedy. This low-level communication, often overlooked by routine intelligence, was the lost file that finally provided confirmation to the Americans the mission had succeeded and Yamamoto was dead. The impact was immediate and profound on the Japanese side, though its true nature was completely masked. The Imperial Navy immediately launched a massive search and rescue operation, confirming the discovery of the wreckage and Yamamoto's body days later. Their official report blamed the incident on a random encounter with long-range American patrols, a conclusion necessary to maintain the facade of code security. The true psychological and strategic fallout, however, was immense. Yamamoto's death was an irreparable blow to morale, shattering the belief in their strategic invincibility. It was the moment the Japanese realized their opponent was not only powerful, but unnervingly prescient. The single Enigma Intercept, the ghost operation conducted by cryptographers and pilots thousands of miles apart, had achieved what a full fleet battle could not: the elimination of the Imperial Navy's greatest strategic mind. This single act of intelligence exploitation confirmed the decisive shift in the Pacific War, ensuring that the Japanese would never again launch an operation of Yamamoto's strategic caliber. The elimination of Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto was far more than a tactical victory. It was a psychological and strategic masterstroke that fundamentally altered the course of the Pacific War. The immediate consequence was the catastrophic blow to the Imperial Navy's command structure. Yamamoto's absence left a vacuum that no subsequent Japanese admiral could fully fill, leading to less imaginative and more predictable strategic planning. His successors lacked the boldness and strategic vision required to challenge the growing American superiority, resulting in a shift toward a static, defensive posture across the vast Pacific theater. This conservative strategic turn directly benefited the Allied war effort, allowing the U.S. to dictate the time and place of subsequent engagements. However, the most critical long-term consequence was the absolute commitment to protecting the secret of Operation Magic. The American High Command fully understood that the success of the mission hinged on the Japanese believing the ambush was a random act of fate. Therefore, every subsequent action, every intelligence operation, and every public statement was designed to reinforce the notion of chance. The true nature of the mission was classified at the highest possible level, creating a lost file that remained impenetrable for decades. Even the pilots involved were given a sanitized, generic debriefing, ensuring that the full context of the code-breaking success remained protected. The incredible self-discipline displayed by the intelligence community in restricting the use of magic information was the ultimate display of strategic maturity, ensuring that the Japanese continued to use the compromised JN-25 cipher, providing the Allies with an unparalleled advantage throughout the war. The historical lesson derived from the Enigma Intercept confirmed the decisive role of intelligence in modern warfare. This was the first time that signals intelligence, purely abstract data, had been used to execute a strategic assassination of a foreign military leader. It validated the immense resources poured into code-breaking efforts and established a new precedent for military command, proving that the silent war fought in the code rooms was often more impactful than the battles fought on the sea. The operation's success demonstrated that the single most dangerous weakness of any modern military was its reliance on communication, a vulnerability that could be exploited with precision, speed, and absolute secrecy. The story of the Ghost operation, the precise timing, the long-distance flight, and the perfect camouflage of the intelligence source remained an untold, classified legend among intelligence circles. It was the definitive moment when the genius of a single strategist was permanently defeated not by physical force, but by the relentless, invisible force of information, a secret that helped pave the way for the ultimate Allied victory in the Pacific.